I guess.
Brent and Cindy, it looks like.
Okay.
Speak of the devil, there's Brent.
Yep, Brent's coming on there.
Okay. We are ready to go at your leisure.
Okay. There's Brent. He's connected.
And Nikki, so they're both.
Yep.
on.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order, and this is our special budget meeting. And our first item is approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Bill McDonald and seconded by Tom Dewey that the agenda for the special council meeting for March 8th, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments, Kathy?
Not that I'm aware of, Madam Mayor. I don't think, Michael, Treasurer, you don't have anything else on?
I do not, Kathy. No.
Okay.
Okay, so as presented. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure pecuniary interest by any member of council on the agenda for today and the general nature of that disclosure? Okay, seeing none, we'll note that. Mayor's remarks, I'm going to forego those and we'll move on to deferred items. No deferred items. So we have staff reports, which is review of the draft budget as amended. Michael, it's turned over to you.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen here. So I need to start the slideshow. Okay, can you guys see the presentation or am I messed up?
We can.
Yeah.
In the big format, just to be clear?
Yes.
So
Now
you don't
we've got
see
your
the-
FMW.
Okay, so then I need to share the other screen
Okay.
because when I did the slideshow, it moved to the other screen. Sorry, guys. Let's try that. Now you can see main adjustment highlights only.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you. So welcome, council, to our second budget meeting discussion. Obviously, the main adjustments that we've got on screen were a combination of adjustments that were made during the last budget meeting on February 24th and a couple adjustments after. So obviously, starting with corporate services, we had a total of $37,000 reduction approximately. We increased interest revenue slightly. For the mayor's suggestion, we decreased transfers to reserves. Michael corrected the solar loan that he didn't remove last time, and net reduction through a multi-use center, which shouldn't have been in there. Animal control expenses, reducing that to the actuals, and by law, we reduced some legal expenses there as well. Technology, we increased it 2,000, but offset it from reserves so that we could get a projector screen for the sound system once we're back in person. So there's no net impact to the budget there. We increased civic address revenue at Andy's suggestion and Tyson's confirmation that they think that the revenues will be similar to this year. Sorry about that. Fire, we did have a net increase of 9,000, mostly due to moving the solar panels, which Chris reduced, or fire chief reduced through $3,000 in miscellaneous expenses. But we did also add in the fire hall repairs as an expense. With the quote that we received, which was 64,000, but we've offset it from insurance recovery. So it's an in and an out. In building, we reduced the transfer to reserves by 25,000, and cemetery, we did go through and increase some of the revenues, but it just had a net impact of 4,000. Everything adds up. So we've made that adjustment as well. Are there any questions before I go to the next screen? Facilities, obviously, we know that council directed us to remove the trailhead building. It's a little bit confusing as I had a question from one councillor. Just to clearly stay out, the capital project itself was $326,000, which was removed. But because we removed the project, we also therefore removed just under $70,000 in grant money, which if it's not used by March 31st of 2023, the grant no longer exists. So we know that. I just wanted to be clear again on that. We had 30,000 that was coming from reserves, and we also transferred 100,000 into reserves. So after consultation and whatnot that we discussed at the last council meeting, the net impact for removing the trail building to the budget is a reduction of $126,000. The other ones we went through the inside and outside contracts, thanks to Tyson sending that report to me rather. So I went through and adjusted that and spoke with Andy and Tyson on that, and we had another $26,000 reduced there. Public Works did increase by 17,500, and it's from 60K in bridges, which Tyson did send to me before we met last time, council, and that was my bad for not putting that in there. So I apologize. That's offset through reserves. So there's a net zero impact. We added 15,000 obviously for the hazardous waste day, 10,000 for wood grinding, and 20K for hot mix, based on some capital projects not being in the budget. Obviously, we'll need more fixes there for the hot mix. We did remove the roads need study, reduce the transfer to reserves by 32,500, and 20K materials and supplies right now is removed as well. Sorry, we're in that section. And we reduced the waste transfer to reserves, again, just by 5,000. It's not much, but everything helps. And the main last adjustment that we did was planning. We had 50,000 in initially for the zoning. Obviously, we have a price now that's around 15,000, and we're pulling that from reserve. So that had a $50,000 net impact to the budget. Just double checking, pausing for any questions before I move on. So this is a screenshot of the adjustments right now. So again, we started at 16 million. We dropped it by 6.4 to bring to council 9.57. And then through council adjustments and department head discussions, we've dropped it through by 244,000 to bring the net levy for 2022 in the draft budget to 9.3 million, which then going to the summary slide is 297,000 more than in 2021. 75,000 approximately is related to growth. Operating and capital increases here, 218 and 79 respectively. And then the overall tax rate, including the county and the education, is 2.3%, which is an extra $30 for every 100,000 assessment dollars, which was compared 56 at our initial meeting. So obviously it has a big gap and impact on everybody's pockets. And that's the end of the slideshow. So I'll stop sharing. Not sure if anybody wants to ask any questions or if we want to go into any particular area.
Okay, I see Tom's hand up. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to I guess to Public Works. With the cost of fuel and it going up dramatically, and I'm wondering if we should take a look at the fuel costs going forward, because looking at what I'm seeing, we're not going to get any relief until probably close to the end of the year. And I'm just wondering if Tyson's concerned that maybe we should take a look at maybe bumping that up a little bit. Or are you comfortable with what we got in there, Tyson?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey, I believe Michael and I adjusted somewhere between 10 and 12% for fuel. And I thought that our actuals reflected a little bit of savings. I definitely agree that we should take another look at the three-year actuals, and we'll double check on the percentage that we went up just to make sure that we're safe there. But I think we went up enough to compensate. Now I'm not sure about this latest increase. Things are changing quickly, and I agree it doesn't look like any relief until at least the third quarter of the year. So worth taking one last look at for sure.
Thank you.
Michael,
So just
go
to give
ahead.
count, through your worship, thank you to Councillor Dewey and Tyson. Our budget is at 321,000. We had actuals of 264, and percentage didn't pop in my mind, but if I times that by 30%, we'd probably be at 343, which would be 20,000 over the budget. And obviously that's a lot of money, but we don't exactly know yet. So I don't think it's going to hurt to leave it where it's at. It will be an impact at the end of the year, and at least that's explainable, but then we're not, I mean, everything's an educated guess, but anybody's educated guess now might be different than somebody else's. So that's the information. We have a budget of 321. We were at actuals of 264, or a 3-year average of 278. So we've actually gone down in the pricing, and obviously we're getting good pricing from our current supplier.
The hardest part about predicting fuel is not as much the increase as we go through a lot of fuel every storm we get, and it's hard to predict how many more storms we're going to get. And that's just as much of a variance as the fuel prices. So I think when Michael and I chatted last, I think we were pretty comfortable with the increase based off the little bit of savings from last year.
Thank you, guys. Good job. Thank you.
I have a question
Councillor.
about fuel tax revenue, Michael. Will it be affected to the positive because of the gas prices?
So when you say the fuel tax revenue, you're talking about the old gas tax fund?
Yes.
Okay, let me just go there and double check. I believe it went up. The OCIF doubled. I'll look into that, Madam Mayor, while we're doing this, but it's
Okay.
community something now, benefit fund. I still have gas tax in my head.
But I guess my question is that gas tax based on the new price of gas? So if it is, then we should get more because the cost is more?
I will have to double check that as well. I can't recall exactly what the formula is based on, but I don't believe it's on the price of gas. I think it's on population or something like that.
Okay.
But I'll double check and get back to you.
Bill had his hand up. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, through Madam Mayor to Tyson. Tyson, I think where the increase in cost are going to affect us will be when we're going out for RFP on any of our summer work. Most of these contractors are going to be faced with the increase in fuel cost. And I'm wondering if we had taken that into consideration when we were setting aside or budgeting for various projects. So what's your opinion on that one?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor McDonald, we budgeted for and estimated these projects in September through November. We haven't added anything on since the big fuel spike, the big increase. If it's something that council would like us to look at, it's just something that's hard to predict. So we can add some contingencies to those projects, but definitely didn't expect an increase like that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two questions. The wood grinding, traditionally the fire department's always done it, and now we're paying for a grinder to come in. Can somebody explain the reasoning behind going with a training experience to it being a cost? And then I also have a follow-up question over the hazardous waste.
Okay, Tyson?
I think I'll let the fire department speak to the training opportunity with burning the Parham brush pile, but the question I can answer is that that 10,000 is in fact to grind the brush and yard debris pile at the Hinchinbrook transfer station.
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy. Just to be clear, it's not a training exercise. It actually costs us money to sit there and sort of oversee this fire. But I understand this pile of brush has been left for quite a while. Tyson and I did discuss it, and it would have to be separated into smaller portions to control the burn to the way that I would have our fire crews there. So we're not comfortable with the size of the pile. We think that it should be ground down, and in future that Tyson and I agreed that that's something that he'll look after is on an annual basis. Through
you, Madam Mayor, after finding out from the fire department the change in plans for this year, I do agree with Chief McDonough. And after the initial cost of mobilizing a big tub grinder down to grind that brush pile, we're hoping it's a one-time high impact like that, and that with there's some other local smaller grinding companies with smaller tow behind tub grinders that use mini X's, be able to knock those operating costs down to $5,000 or $6,000 a year if we can try to keep up with it. If the fire department's not going to do any more burning, and if they change their mind, then I can easily make that change and put that $5,000 or $6,000 to some other waste and recycling improvement.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So my follow-up question around the hazardous waste. I'm kind of concerned about the cost and all of the additional costs that haven't been budgeted for in creating a hazardous waste operation. I know that the comment was made that people from the north did not feel comfortable. It was too much of a trek to go to Sydenham or to go to Kingston, but North Frontenac has hazardous waste. And if we're looking to save a few bucks this year for the taxpayer, would it not be more cost effective to make an agreement with North Frontenac and utilize theirs for this year? It's in Mississippi Station, and then take a little bit more time in organizing, putting in a hazardous waste depot. It just seems that none of these expenses were brought to council's information from the committee. And we just they were there the day of the budget and told to us, like the garbage bag increase and putting in this hazardous waste. So I'm just saying maybe a little bit more time and thought process to them, and maybe save a little money this year and plan for it next year in the budget.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, my approach when I came to the budget meeting, first of all, I asked our CAO and I spoke and decided that it wasn't to be a separate report to council from the committee. It was supposed to be budget recommendations. That's why it came to that meeting. I apologize if that was a bit of a surprise. That was my direction. I would like to remind council, I approached council in a more of a phased approach to the hazardous waste program, starting off this season with only just making a safe storage area for our own staff to stockpile hazardous waste until we can operate a full out public depot. And councillors were very excited about the hazardous waste program and kind of pushed us more towards getting it open sooner than later. And that's why we increased the operating costs a little bit more inside that budget meeting. And if we are concerned with the low operating costs, then I think that we may have to, if other councillors agree and Madam Mayor agrees, we may have to step back to the phased approach if there's concerns of the operating cost being too high. We have done our best estimate to make sure, since the program won't be operating until the fall at the earliest, we have taken that into consideration. There's a pretty big unknown with how much materials out there being stockpiled in residences right now, which is hard to estimate. But I also plan on keeping the access to the Sydenham depot. We've got permission from South Frontenac to continue operating that in the meantime through this transition. And I'm definitely not against approaching North Frontenac about having access for our residents to go towards Mississippi.
Okay, comments from other councillors on that issue? I can tell you that I think going to the north again will only solve the problem for a few. It's still quite a step to go to the north if you live in Piccadilly or even Parham. Bill and Victor, I saw your hands up.
Yes, I was going to say, you took your comments were right on with what I was going to say. I think by having access to the facilities in the south, it means that most people go south either for work or for shopping or whatever. So it's not a special trip to get rid of it. But I would think that if you were going north to get rid of your hazardous waste, it would be a special trip. And while it might be convenient for myself living here on 509, for the majority of the residents of Central Frontenac, that would be a special trip, which would be considerable time. So that would be my comment on that. I think having our own would be the way to go.
Okay, and Victor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would agree that having our own is the way to go. I think the capital costs were not extravagant, and an operating cost of 15,000, like compared to the size of the budget, the 15,000 is a reasonable cost to have two facilities in our own jurisdiction. So I don't see that there's any value in trying to make any new agreements when we have a cost. Basically, the total cost, the capital and the operating, is about the same as what it cost us for 1 year of 1 day hazardous waste that we had in the original program before.
Right.
Okay. Tyson and then Michael.
Just through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, I just do want to reiterate that you could be 100% right, and it's so hard to predict the amount of material that's being stockpiled right now, which another really good reason to get away from the one-day events that we used to run for about 30 grand for a day. We got to get our own program so we can start seeing what these costs are really going to be once everybody's got rid of their stockpiled material and we start getting to more of a normal pattern. We may be a little bit over, maybe a little bit under, but this kind of change is always a little bit uncomfortable at the start. But I think we talked about in the last meeting, the costs aside, I think this is going to help the environment in Central Frontenac.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may just add a personal comment, I'm one of those people that have stockpiled the hazardous waste in my garage, and it's just because I can't get the timing right going south. So regardless of where it is, it'll go to a hazardous waste spot, but I am one of those residents that more than likely would take it at least to the waste site when I'm going there. Just comments for council. And then to go back to your question earlier about the gas tax, we have our allocations to 2023, and funds are allocated on a per capita basis in accordance with census population counts. So
Okay.
we did get extra money, I think, in 2019, but I wouldn't count on it.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Okay, I also have been approached to have a hazardous household day again in our municipality. So I do believe that people are storing things and are waiting until we can resolve the issue. And I think it's time. If we can get a hazardous waste depot that we can take it when we take our other waste, then that is going to be perfect for folks. And it will be safer to get those paint cans and all of that debris out of their houses and garages and storage sheds. So I think for $15,000, Victor, your comment about it's not an expensive move to produce something that the population is looking for. Any other questions on any other parts of the budget? Bill.
Yes, I don't have a question on the budget itself. I'm really quite satisfied with the 2.3% increase. I can live that with. I don't think anybody object to that. But what I am interested in, Michael, you can maybe give me. When do you anticipate we'll be getting an up-to-date assessment numbers in regard to what our overall assessment increase is? And when we get that, do you anticipate that it's going to have any kind of positive or negative impact on our budgeting process?
Through your worship to Councillor McDonald, I really have to be careful of my words that I say here. Not soon enough. It will have a positive impact, but again, if our budget dollars stay the same, then the tax rate should drop, right? And we know that our budget dollars don't. The capital deficit every year is, I think it was over $1 million, not including the backlog. And those are basically our capital assets we use to deliver our services. So it definitely will have a positive impact, but I don't expect it until 2024, I believe it was.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a motion coming forward at our regular meeting for the budget. Is there anything else for this special budget meeting?
Madam Mayor, we weren't not sure as to what council were proposing in regards to the budget. And Michael and the team have done a great job of getting it down to the 2.3%. So no, we do not have it. We're going to pass it at the next regular meeting on March the 22nd.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's good. That will give folks time to, if they have any questions or comments for us. All right, well, if that's everything, we will end this meeting and our next one starts at 4 o'clock. So I have a
Madam
motion.
Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question, sort of the bylaw, the confirming bylaw for this meeting says it's a bylaw to confirm the regular meeting of council held on March 8th. Should that be amended to be the budget meeting? I'm not sure that it really makes a difference, but
My motion says special.
Special.
Okay, as long as the motion says special, I just don't want, because that looks like the same bylaw that we would be passing at our regular meeting. And I
Right.
think there should be a differentiation so that people reading it could know that there's a difference.
Yes,
For sure.
okay.
Victor, I may have just put the wrong one in, so I will double check that because yes, you're right, it should be special. So thank you for picking up on that. I'll make sure that that's corrected in the printed version.
Copy and paste, yeah.
And I saw Tyson's hand up.
Just clarification, Madam Mayor, did I hear that we will not be considering approving the budget at tonight's meeting?
That's correct.
That's correct. But what that means, Tyson, is that if you have projects in there that we have approved, you can go ahead and start work on
Right.
doing what needs to be done.
So for clarification, while we're all here, just for the capital construction projects, can I go ahead and tender those, put those to tender?
Yes. Is
And
that the
equipment.
consensus?
Large equipment
Yes.
purchases
Yes.
and everything. Okay. Thank you, Council.
Okay. Michael?
Just a wholehearted thank you to council, to department heads. This is no light matter. It's a complete balancing act every year, and I know it's tough for everybody, so thank you.
Well, thank you, staff.
Yes. Bill?
Yes, I, as a counselor who's been around the table and have done hundreds and hundreds of budgets, I just have to commend the staff and yourself, Michael and Kathy, and leading us through this process, because I can tell you that for the most part, at least I can speak for myself here, I do understand a lot of what's on the budget because of the fact that you're the people that are doing it. But I think the outcome that you've got us to, you have to be commended, and I'd like to give you a pat in the back, but COVID's on and you're too far away. So take my word for it. You've done a good job.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Yes. Okay.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor McDonald, thank you. But I also, like I've done a couple of times, I think Councillor McDonald may have left a couple zeros off the end of that number.
Well, you are definitely a good team, and the department heads and Kathy, you all work well together. And it's a pleasure to work with you on a budget that's a tough year, and they never get any easier. So again, as everyone has said, thank you very much. Now I'm going to read the motion that is moved by Nikki and seconded by Sherry, that bylaw 2022-12, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held March 8th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 8th day of March, 2022. And further, that this meeting be adjourned until 4 p.m. Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. All those in favor? Motion's carried and adjourned at 2:58. So a little time to have a coffee before our next one.
Okay.
Thanks,
See you later,
everyone.
folks.
Yes.